Welcome back to Hackathon Entertainment TV. I'm Mr. Hackathon. I bring you the story behind every hack. And on this channel, what I do is not only tell you stories about hackathons, I also show you how to build software products with no code. And in this tutorial today, I'm going to show you how to build a resource directory completely with no code. The tool we're going to be using is one of my favorite, and it's called Softr. Softr is a tool for you to create internal tools, resource directories, membership sites, online communities, and more. It's very simple. All you need is Softr. It's free, and you're going to need Airtable, which is also free. We'll look at Airtable in a little bit. But if we just look at the pricing plans, you should be able to do what you need to do with Softr. With the free plan, one of the best things about the free plan is that it gives you one custom domain. So you can actually connect your domain with the free plan, which is very rare for many tools like this. You can also add a paywall, Airtable integration, although it does have a limit of 200 records. But also, Softr is one of my favorite because the team is very helpful and the team is very responsive. So without further ado, let's get into building our resource directory. So I am going to log in. You will need to create an account. And as you can see, when I log in, I get this dashboard of all the applications I made. And you can see I've made a lot of different applications with no code and with Softr. And what we're actually going to do is create a new application. And here it gives us templates. So we're actually not going to start this from scratch. As you can see, it has resource directories and you can start from scratch, or you can use the templates. So what I am going to do is build a resource directory that's similar to this no code resources, but instead of no code resources, I am going to do videos about business, or create a directory for videos about business. So what we're going to do, we'll just preview this for now. I don't think I can scroll down, but if I go back and I use this template, I know I want to use this template. So this is what we get. Very, very straightforward. This is one page, and I think it's appropriate to walk through the UI if this is your first time using Softr. So on the left, you have pages. You can add additional pages, but not only add additional pages, you can add details to the page. So you can optimize the page for SEO. You can add general details. You can add social media details for when someone shares that particular page, or you could add custom code to the header or footer for that page. That can be used for Google tracking, which is actually an integration. So I wouldn't add it in the header here. I'll actually add it in the settings, which we'll go over in a short while. You can change the theme, which changes the base theme of the website. You can change the individual components also. If you have a sign in or sign up, you can also add this user database where people sign in and it gets added to the users. We're not going to do that for our resource directory for now. And you can change the settings. So you can change the subdomain if you're just using the subdomain and you're not connecting your own domain. If we go back, you can add your own custom domain. You can connect integration, so it connects to Stripe, Hotjar, many different other really cool integrations. You can add custom code. You can also add custom code blocks inside Softr and email signature, and you can add SAML configuration. We're not going to worry about too much about this. So if we jump back home, so if I go to pages, I go home, and if we go on the right side, we can actually see about adding a block. So Softr have predefined blocks, and this is the whole. In many different no-code applications, you have different ways to speed up the development process. For Softr, you can add blocks to be able to do this. See hero, which is basically something like this. Features, feature grids, and many different other really cool blocks. And they're adding blocks all the time. Often the team's so responsive, if you create a request, a feature request, they'll tell you whether they can work on it or whether they can't work on it, whether it's already on their roadmap. The team is very, very responsive to a lot of feedback, especially currently. So what we're going to do is I want to create a resource directory. And so what I'm going to do to begin with is just begin to manipulate this top down using the template. So I'm actually going to remove the logo, and I'm going to start on the hero, and I am going to create a resource directory for business. So anyone wanted to start a business, I am going to create a directory for them to find the best resources. So I'm going to say, I'm going to change this subtitle to find the best business resources to launch or grow business. What you have here with every component, as you can see, I have the title on the right. I can actually click here and change the formatting of the title and change the style of the title. I can also change the formatting and style of the block as a whole. So I can click the palette here. As you can see, the background color is white, but if we just play around and change this, you can see it changes the whole background color. We can change the padding, the top padding, the bottom padding, and the border. But we also can hide it to all users and only show for logged in users. We're not going to cover visibility conditions here in this particular tutorial. This is only specifically about a general build, but you can actually hide components for different types of users, whether logged in or not logged in or custom groups. I'm going to change this to explore business resources. We have contact us. I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to leave the color scheme pretty much the same how it is. And I am going to make some changes to the email opt-in. It's always great to have an email opt-in to start to collect emails and engage users and continuously engage users. So we're going to change this text. I'm going to say have the best business resources and exclusive deals delivered to your inbox. We're going to leave this. The important part here about the email catcher is obviously we have this placeholder which says your email, as you can see your email here. But here is really interesting because you can integrate with many different tools. So you can add a signed in user to MailChimp, to MailerLite, you can actually send the email to Zapier and do lots of different things with it. You can send to Integromat, which is just like Zapier, and you can trigger automations by this, or you can forward to your email. So I'm actually going to just forward to my email. So anytime someone signs up here, it forwards, Softr forwards the details and the information to my personal, well, this is my business, but to my business email. So that's an easy way to get started before adding them specifically to a mailing list. If we keep coming down, we're going to skip this bit a little bit because this is the most important bit and we're going to dedicate more time. But as you can see here, there is a call to action for people to add a resource. This is a simple component. As you see here, we have a CTA and you have different call to action components that can be used. And so we have a button that says submit a resource. And next, what you actually want to do is open a new page. So you're telling the website, or you're telling the component, when someone clicks on this button, open a new page, and the page it opens is add resources. So it comes to this page for people to add a resource. We're going to talk more about this form a little bit later, because this form is directly connected to Airtable and it adds new resources to Airtable. As you can see here, send to Airtable. It doesn't have anything connected to it yet because we haven't spoke about Airtable yet. But we are also going to say add a new read. We're actually going to leave it like this. We're going to come down and we're going to remove this logo for now. So we've done the bare bones basics. Now we want to add the important logical details. The thing we want to do next is I've clicked on this list here and it's going to ask us to connect to Airtable. So I'm going to show you Airtable to begin with. I might have to log out to show you this. So Airtable is similar to Google Sheets or Excel, if you're still using Excel. And it is a database that is popularly used by Netflix, Time, Shopify, and more. It's a very, very popular solution, especially in the no-code space. It allows you to trigger a lot of workflows, create a lot of custom automations and logic specific to your business needs. Airtable is free and they do have a premium offering. So if we go look at the pricing right now, I only use the free account for now because that suits my needs. But in the premium offering, you have additional records availability. You're able to sync tables and do a lot more. So we jump back. I'm actually going to log in again. So I have to log in again. So now I'm logged in. When you're actually logged into Airtable, you have these things called workspaces and bases. So as you see, Dominico Norton Limited here is a workspace. I have projects, which is another workspace, and you can see a lot of projects created using Airtable. And I'm actually over my limit on a couple projects here. Over my limit, but it's okay. And these are bases. Bases are just like spreadsheets in Google Sheets. We take a look. I'm trying to think of one that I can actually take a look at, but we're going to actually connect Softr to Airtable right now. So I'm going to connect using my API key. I'm not going to show you how to find your API key right now. That will be more in a video more detailed to Airtable. I am going to pause this and connect my Softr to Airtable right now. Initially, I said I'm not going to show you how to do this, but I changed my mind, and I thought it would be best to show you how to do this. I just have to hide my Airtable key when doing this. Okay. So in Softr, when you click stuck, how to find Airtable key, it'll pull up this page and it will tell you to navigate to your account page. I'm actually on my account page now. I've already generated an API key, and so I'm going to copy this API key and I am going to paste it here. If you haven't generated one, you will see a button to generate one. Click generate and then do the same process. Copy your API key and paste it into Softr. So I have copy and pasted my API key into Softr, and I clicked next and it takes me to this page. And what I want to do is to copy template base. And what it's actually going to do is going to clone the base of this particular template that I've used. And it's going to create all the fields that it's using for the template. As you can see, it brings up this spreadsheet-like view, and I have columns, I have rows of data, and I can add columns and rows of data. So if I wanted to change this, I just double click in the cell. Oh, sorry. I first have to copy the base here in the top right, and I click copy base, and I tell it where to save. I'm actually going to save it to projects. I'm going to add the base. I can remove that copy base, so now it's adding the base. And the base should be added, so it's added here, no code resources. So when I actually click on that, you can see now I can double click, I can add, remove. I've now copied the base. I can add an additional column and give the column a type. This is not a Airtable specific tutorial, so I'm not going to talk a lot about columns and rows and how to use Airtable. But I am going to say I am going to rename the table to business resources. I'm not going to change all this data right now. I'm just going to rename that. I'm going to rename the base business resources. I actually might change the name here to resources. And we're going to jump back, and now we're going to refresh, and we're going to connect the data. We're going to type business resources, click finish, and now our data is connected. So what we have here in Airtable is called a list. So a list is basically just our dynamic data from Airtable. You can actually create different types of lists by going to the component section, going to dynamic, and going to list. And it has different types of lists that you can create: lists with small cards, lists with timeline, lots of really cool things that I will probably put in separate tutorials. Also in this dynamic tab, you can create forms to add data. You can create ways for users to create accounts, payment solutions. Right now it's just Stripe. You can create list details, and we'll show you how the list details work in a short while. You can create tables and lots of really, really cool things. Charts, Kanban boards, and add a map. So we want to review this again. So I'm going to click on the list again. And as you can see, it's pulling the Airtable base, business resources, Airtable resources. We just renamed it. You can change what it's sorted by. Right now it's sorted by A to Z, and it only shows 8 items per page. I can change that to 4. Let's see. So we have 8 items per page. We change that to 4. We can have 4. We can have, let's say, 12. And change it to as many as we want to have. So we'll just stick with 8 right now. You can show conditional filters. You can add conditions, and you can say only show this if this. We're not going to add no conditions. You can create labels and create filters. So right here we filter by categories, and so as you can see, our data here is broken down into categories: mobile app, templates, workflow automation. Then we're going to do a similar thing for our business resource directory. And they've added the categories here, position them at the top. You can actually change it to the left, you can change it to the right, or you can make it a drop down. So if we preview this, and I scroll down, this is a drop down now. We can allow users to multi-select if it's a list or a drop down. And you can add additional filters. So you can also filter by, let's find another filter. I don't think there will be another filter, but you could filter by another category, for example, country or location. Now, this is the interesting part, because most of the lists have like predefined categories. Now, you don't have to use all of these categories. For example, I can remove the image, and this removes the image. I can add the image, and there it is. I can also add fields here, but you need to map categories to fields. So for example, I need an image here mapped to this image, and all you do, you have this magic text, and it maps it directly to what you have in your database. Really simple, really effective. You map name to name. As you can see, names mapped to name, descriptions mapped to description, and there's no text. But if we was to add text, you can see there's text here. So what you actually see is you can add on-click items. I think the text is still there. You can add on-click items. So when a user clicks onto the item, something happens. So this actually opens an item detail page. You can open an external URL and link to an external website, or you don't have to do anything on click. To show you what this actually looks like, we're going to click on this, and it opens up this page, which is details about that particular resource. So now we're going to talk about how that actually works. There's another page called item detail, and this is a dynamic page, and this is actually a block in the list blocks. You have list details, and this is a block. You say list details page with signage image, list details page with image slider, with video, with 3 columns. And when we click on this, you have to connect it to the base, but also you can add fields. So we have the name here. We can actually remove this name, and this is all working dynamically. You don't have to do anything other than just map the data to your database. The description, the image, the category, and the long description. Now I don't believe there's any long description for these. Yeah, there's no long description for these, but you can add more detail that wouldn't fit in those original cards in the list we previously saw. So if I go back to home and then scroll down, This is the short description, but if we had a long description, it wouldn't be able to fit here. So we create the list details page to show more details about that particular item. Open page, item detail is the name of the page, and it automatically pulls up the pages you have available. So what we want to do is we actually want to remove all this data and start to create our own data. I'm actually only going to do maybe 3 business resources, but you can do as many as you want to do. And I'm going to stick to this model of the template they have here. So I'm going to remove all of this, and I'm going to delete all selected records. And this does update dynamically. So if I was to refresh, you'll be able to see now I only have 1 resource. The reason I still have all these fields here is because all the fields are still up here. As I begin to remove fields, you can see it is beginning to remove them. But if I remove all the fields, I can no longer filter. What I change here in terms of inline filters doesn't necessarily impact what's here. We go here, you can still see them all here. It just impacts what's in Softr. Now we will draw a connection between Softr and adding resources and adding it to Airtable, but we're not quite there yet. So what we want to do is, I'm using Ordalo as a reference. So on my reference, it's slightly different before because I changed, I made a few changes. So what I want to do is to begin to add my data. You can either add it manually, or you can import a CSV or some type of file to automatically fill this. Again, this is not a HubSpot, this is not an Airtable tutorial, so that's not going to be focus of this particular tutorial. So I'm just going to add entries manually, and we are going to minute. So one good resource is HubSpot, and I'm going to create a category called marketing. I'm going to add an image and link a little bit later. Another resource is GoDaddy, and I'm going to add a category called domains. Another good resource is product hunt, and I'm going to add a section called product launch. So I want to find short descriptions about GoDaddy. If I just finish this HubSpot one first. So I need an image. So I'm going to save. I'm going to find the image for HubSpot. I think that might be okay. Oh, this one's good. And I can actually drag and drop this image right here. Now we're going to do the same for GoDaddy. And I can drag and drop this for GoDaddy. I'll just type this in. I'm going to find a description. And product hunt is the last one. Interesting. I'm looking. Here it is. So I want the logo now. So this will be good. Or maybe this one. So now that I have all the data I want, I'm just going to double check. The reason that it doesn't show, I haven't added the options. So if we go, the options should be here. I'm just going to refresh. So it's actually uploaded, but you can see our categories are not here. So what we want to do, we want to add our categories. So product launch as one, marketing as another, and domains as another. And what I'm actually going to do is now I don't need this as a template. I'm going to delete this one. So now I just have my business. And it does auto refresh itself. So now I have my free business resources. To preview this, all I have to do is go here and preview. And actually, when I click on this, you can see I got my title, my description, the logo, the category, and when I click this link, it refused to connect. Okay, it refused to connect because I'm actually looking at it in the previewer, but when I publish this live, it will be able to take me to the website live. So as you saw, the list details is dynamic. It updates dynamically. And I think one of the last things we want to do before publishing this is we want to update the header and footer. So as you can see, there's this contact us and it takes you to a sign in. I'm actually going to remove the contact us. The explore business resources. I have a couple options for action: to open a page, to scroll to section, or open an external URL. I actually want to scroll to a section, and this section that I want to scroll to is list 2. So I can change the name of the section here. It's list 2, or to change the name, I just click on this edit button and I can change the name. So here, scroll to section, and if I scroll down, I should see home, list 2. Perfect. Add resource. So that will be our last thing that we want to do. But lastly, We want to remove this contact, explore, scroll to section, and go to the list too. So lastly, I think the thing we want to do is add resource. And so we created our call to action here already. And we created our page. Our page was created for the template, from the template. And so what we want to do is adjust this. And let's say add a business resource. And I'm going to say fill in this form to add a business resources. You can add a background, and actually when you go to backgrounds, you can pick from library, you can upload an asset and keep your asset database and use the same assets. Here, this is the interesting part. So this is a form for us to be able to add information to Airtable. So it's not just reading, you're able to write to Airtable. So we can add additional fields and change the field type. You want the field type to match what the type you have in Airtable. So if we go here, the type is a single line text. If we go here, the type is a single line text for the name. Obviously, you don't want to put a date where a name is. So we have a label, which is here, name of resources, and a placeholder and a tag. This is important. You want your tag to be exactly the same as the name right here. So as you can see, the tag here is name, and the column name is name. You want it to be exactly the same, upper lowercase, exactly the same as written. File, for them to upload a file of the image, add an image of the resource, a description of the resource, a link to the resource, and a category. Category is actually a drop-down menu, and we will see shortly how that works, but it's a drop-down menu, and you can see the options here. I don't want them to have these options, so what I'm going to do is remove and change this to product, launch, marketing, and put domains. Now I have to create the action. We have a button that submits, and on the submit, it sends it to Airtable, and it sends it to this particular base, and the table sends it to resources. So this is just this table for us. You can either show a message or open a page. I'm actually gonna show a message, and we can see what that looks like. So I'm actually going to add one now. So another busy business resource, let's add in the hackers. We're going to find an image. Just make sure I select that. In the hacker, oh, I'm making a huge mistake. I'm not adding it directly. I'm showing you how to do it right here. So I'm just going to drag and drop. I probably can't drag and drop because I'm in the previewer and I haven't published yet. So I am going to go directly just to show you here. And I am going to add the description from here. I am going to select the drop down menu. As you can see, we only had the 3 options. I'm going to add a link. And I'm going to click submit. It's going to submit. submitted, it shows me my confirmation. And when I go to my database, I can now see indie hackers here. The last thing we're going to do is actually publish this. So we have everything. We have our initial homepage. We can see our list. We can see details. As you can see, updated here. We can see our list. We can see details. And we can add new records. So next, to publish this, we just click publish. And I'm going to call it business resource directory. I can add a custom domain. We're not going to do that right now. We're just going to add a subdomain to Softr and the domain they provide. We're going to click publish. It is now published at this domain. So all I have to do is click there. And we have created a business directory in under an hour. I click here, it takes me down. I can filter for product launch, resources, I can see all, filter for marketing, filter for domains. I can click add a resource and it will allow me to add a resource. So I have showed you how to create a business resource directory using Softr and Airtable. If you have any questions, please feel free to either DM me or write in the comments. I will respond as quickly as possible. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the YouTube algorithm, but it also gives me confirmation that these tutorials are useful for you.